This is the SHIB coin 1 month overview reading for the month of January 2024. It's currently November 27, 2023, 7:54 p.m. Eastern Time. SHIB coin at the time of this reading is currently 0.0000818. That's 5 zeros after the decimal point, followed by an 818, and that's USD. The shuffle video for the January reading was created on October 25th, 2023 at 2:11 p.m. Eastern Time. That's this video here in the corner. So the overall theme and behavior throughout January is multiple failed attempts to break through key resistance. Usually with the interference card, it's the same resistance, and you fail to break through multiple times. It's crossed with a brief peak that's easily missed, followed by a decline through multiple support levels. And there's really like, I'm picking up on like a market-wide decline somewhere around the 12th, 13th. We'll talk about that more as we progress through the reading. Behavior around the high side, we have a notable move to reach the high, notable move higher to reach the highest high for the month of January. Usually when you see it in the high position, it's like a gap up into the high. Usually when you see the adjustment card in the high correlator position, it's like a gap up. And then behavior around the lowest low, we have a rally into a key resistance level on a multi-day scale, followed by a decline with consecutively lower spikes up on the way down. And usually with the strife card, those spikes up will meet moving averages in bearish formation as their resistance, and then you continue lower. Before we go any further and get into the day-by-day chart behavior as well as the prominent highs and lows throughout the month, I want to make sure everybody's aware the whole purpose of the channel is to transmute some of the competitive energy of the stock market into goodwill. Hi. And you do that by following the rule of karma for the channel. That's the unwritten agreement between the universe and anybody utilizing this information for personal gain. The universe has no problem with people utilizing this information for personal gain as long as it's part of simultaneously helping other people. Make sure to follow that rule of karma whenever you're profitable on a trade. Go to resources tab of our website, Tarot for Traders. And 5% of the profits should be donated forward to one of these charities. 5% of the profits should be donated back to the channel here through one of these links. That effectively transmutes competitive energy of the stock market into goodwill, successfully accomplishing the whole goal of the channel. It also guarantees abundance mentality and gratitude mentality. Make sure to spend that 90% left over out of love. As long as you follow those rules, you follow the rule of karma for the channel, the universe considers you an angel investor. It's going to send it back to you tenfold. Neglect to follow through, the universe will neglect to follow through as well. First off, before we get into the day-by-day chart behavior, I want to make sure everybody understands. These cards each represent a day of time. They're numbered above the card, basically the date that it represents, but not each card's energy will line up perfectly with one day of time, so you have to understand that the sequence of events will be 100% accurate. Sometimes the timing is plus or minus a day, occasionally plus or minus 2 days. Pushing it, I don't like 2 days, that's kind of like a bad reading for me. The majority of the time it'll be right on point. But remember to give it plus or minus 1 day of wiggle room and follow the sequence of events in cases where it's off by a day or so. Sequence of events will keep you on track. On the first, we have a notable decline where we will revisit a support level that I recently met once before. There's a day trade opportunity, most likely a day trade opportunity there on the first. It could be too, like the closing of a swing trade and opening of another swing trade, but we'll look into that in more detail in the paid version. There's a prominent peak or high here that'll stand out on a 1 month chart on the second, third, probably on the second, but it could be the third. I think probably the second, and then on the third we have a sideways fluctuating decline into a trough late in the day. Looks like we go even lower, like a decline through multiple supports on the fourth, into a prominent trough on a 1 month chart scale, and then we do sideways fluidity on the fifth, which is really like a sideways chart price action. So you might do like a big swing, you might do a narrow swing, but either way you kind of end up sideways. On the sixth, we have a bit of a rally out of a trough early in the day, most likely early in the day, like revisiting a trough from the fourth. We have a crest towards the end of the day that we sell off from, down to and through support to break through another support, and then we do a U-shaped reversal, come back and reuse that price level as support. And it's an important support level there on the 7th. It'll be important on at least a 1 year chart. And there could be a sharp drop there as well. There may or may not be, it's hard to say, but there's a lot of price change on the 8th. And I think we probably end up to the downside there, and then there's an unexpected move higher on the 9th, possibly to a prominent crest. A sideways rotation on the 10th. Looks like we have a trough early in the day. We go from a trough early in the day on the 10th into another prominent peak there on the 11th that'll stand out on a 1 month chart. Sharp drop on the cusp of the 11th, 12th through multiple supports, then a failed attempt to break through key resistance around the 13th, followed by a decline through key support. And it's a key resistance. It may be the resistance that we see on the 11th, like revisited, and it looks like we're going to break through. Hard to say, but there's a resistance level there on the 13th that it'll look like chart behavior will make us expect to see it break through, but instead it turns around and it declines through key support. And it's usually support that had something to do with the expectation of why we would go through resistance. So it's like a disappointment. On the 14th, we have a notable decline. I think there's probably like a market-wide decline of some kind here. There's some sort of, there's like a sharp drop here market-wide in stocks and crypto, I'm seeing. It surrounds the 13th. We have a peak on the 5th that we sell off from pretty notably. There's a day trade opportunity on the 14th and the 15th that I'll talk about in more detail in the paid version. Let's take a look at November and see how we're doing thus far. All right, so that Ace of Wands was a prominent peak, but not a highest high. We didn't have it as a highest high. We had a prominent peak and a prominent trough in there, so that's all right. On the 7th, we had a lowest low. Looks like it was pretty close. Lowest low thus far, and then we have a prominent peak around the 8th, 9th. Looks like it ended up being on the 10th, 11th. So we're plus or minus 1 to 2 days, depending on how you look at it, which 2 days is really bad compared to our average accuracy. And we're going to leave this reading up anyways because we've got nothing to higher. Accuracy is insane. This reading's still pretty solid aside from us off by 2 days on this highest high. We got the second highest high on the 15th, ends up being the 16th, and then we revisit it on the 18th. It ends up being on the 17th. Then we have that unicursal drop in between those two second highest highs on the 16th. There's that sharp drop there. That was a pretty solid sharp drop, unicursal energy. There was another one around the 23rd. Ended up being on the 22nd. We had it for the 23rd. And that Ace of Cups ended up being a lowest low. And then it looks like we'll most likely revisit a sharp drop on the 30th, and we most likely revisit the same low, if not a lower low, as what we had here on the 22nd, 23rd. I'd give this like this is probably in like the high 80s. When Sarah gets the review, we'll know for sure, but my guess is that this is probably in the high 80s as far as accuracy, which is really bad for us. But with that said, let's get back into it. The prominent peak on the 15th that we sell off from pretty notably, it'll be a sharp decline. On the 16th, there's some sort of tricky chart behavior there that's intended to cause misdirection or like an impulsive decision. There's a support near the low. I think we have some sort of fake out around that support there on the 16th, but there's a trade opportunity. On the 17th, there's a trade opportunity in the midst of price swings. And then on the 18th, we have a prominent trough on a 1-month chart scale again that'll stand out. And towards the end of the day, there's a trade opportunity out of a decline. On the 19th, we have a big move from the bottom of the range to the top of the range, and then a pop and drop on the 20th that creates another prominent peak or crest on a 1-month chart scale. A lower peak or crest on the 21st in the midst of a rally, higher offering trade opportunity, and there's likely a day trade opportunity there. I'll talk about it in more detail in the paid version. Another crest or peak on the 22nd, and there's an important range on a multi-day scale that's highlighted there. We have a prominent trough towards the end of the day or on the cusp of the 22nd, 23rd, and another rally out of that trough offering trade opportunity, probably a day trade opportunity there as well. On the 25th, a lot of volatility and a peak or crest towards the end of the day. A fast sudden move higher on the 25th, a trade opportunity at the end of the day of the 24th, and then another prominent trough early in the day on the 26th, out of which we have a rally that increases with the momentum moving forward in time. Big move right around the cusp to the upside, right around the cusp of the 26th, 27th. Failed attempt to break through key resistance on the 27th, followed by a decline through key support, another trough there on the 27th, and then that decline continues into the 28th. Likely a reversal there and a notable, a prominent peak or crest at the end of the day on the 28th. A rally along a diagonal trend line on the 29th that ends with a fast sudden move higher and then a breakdown through that diagonal trend line with increasing volatility on the way down. An important price level highlighted on the 30th that'll be important on a one-year chart scale minimum, and then a sideways fluctuating rally on the 31st that precedes a decline. On February, there's a decline that ends with a fast sudden move higher as the sneak preview that we'll be looking into, and I'll talk about February in more detail in the paid version. But that's SHIB coin for January, my friends. If you like this content, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. It really helps out the channel. As always, make sure to follow that rule of karma. You know where to go. You know what to do. Blessings to all my angel investors. I'll see you guys on the next one. Stay tuned if you got the paid version. All right, guys. So on a multi-year standpoint, this reading's looking pretty accurate. We have this sideways rotation, Princess of Discs, and then a new all-time high and a low within the same year of 2021. 2022 was really like mostly decline through multiple supports, and then 2023 has basically just been sideways bumping along, multiple failed attempts to break through resistance. 2024 should be like 3 pokes through the same price level, followed by a sharp drop off at that third poke, either that or same trend line, I should say. But then there's a lot of volatility and a lot of price change in 2025 where we go into a high again there. From that's kind of like the overall broad view, and there's likely a prominent high and a prominent low around the cusp of January, February, like many other readings. I haven't completed the 2024 reading just yet, but I'll get into that in a bit. It looks like we do have a fast sudden move higher, or a really notable move higher on a multi-year scale here taking place in 2024 as well with that adjustment card. It may be out of oversold territory, or it may just be like a really big move to the upside, but I'm seeing a new high in 2024 and probably higher thus far in 2025. That's based on the abundance card. Yeah, and from out of the low, we push the upper end of a range higher. Yeah. So this is pretty mixed behavior, a lot like many of the other January readings where we go from like a prominent peak, a high side thus far, into a lowest low thus far here on the 4th, 5th. And I think we probably test the same resistance a couple times, like somewhere around the 8th, 9th, maybe, and then very, very likely around the 11th. But there's also most likely revisit this lowest low here thus far on the 4th. We most likely revisit it around the 6th, and then we probably revisit it. No, I think those are probably just prominent troughs. We come into a lower low, the same low or a lower low. It's probably a lower low here around the 18th. There's a lowest low around the 18th, 19th in a lot of the January readings. And then I think we probably revisit that low again somewhere around the 21st, 22nd, like many of the other readings, and then possibly in the midst of some extreme volatility price swings around the 25th, 26th, 27th. There's a lot of conflicting energies in this last like 7 days on a lot of the January readings where it's showing highs, and lowest lows. So that implies a lot of volatility. Okay, so there's a day trade on the 1st. A period of sideways rotation will end with a fast sudden move higher. So you want to get in that period of sideways rotation near the day's low. Close that after that fast sudden move higher. Usually we'll establish support with sideways rotation at a higher price level, which kind of like ends the wealth card, which is the second trade opportunity. And then around the 3rd, 4th, 5th, I would be looking for opportunities in the midst of lowest lows and the revisiting of lowest lows thus far to open up, like put on partial long position for a trade that we'd want to close probably on the 8th. And if I'm wrong about it being on the 8th, then very, very likely the 11th. If it happens to be the 10th, take the opportunity. If it doesn't, then it's going to be the 11th. I would not hold longer than the 11th because there's a sharp drop there. If we go into highs on the 10th, I'd open up a partial short, and then if we revisit those highs on the 11th, I'd complete that short, and I'd hold that short probably until the 18th. And then the lowest low somewhere around the 22nd, plus or minus a day, I would with a notable rally off of it. That rally off of it offers opportunity to open up a short position, and then the exit point for that short position would be the same price level revisited, that low where we entered. It would be that same price level revisited somewhere around the 25th, 26th, 27th, somewhere around there. And that's where I would exit around that price level, wherever that takes place. In the midst of exiting that short position, I put on a partial long and add to that partial long if we see another opportunity at the same price level on the 28th. You could close a long position there at the end of the day on the 28th or possibly the 29th or even the 30th, which is where we most likely have our highest high for the month periods. They're around the 28th or the 30th. The 11th will act as a highest high thus far, and then lowest lows here on the 18th will either the 22nd will be the same low or lower than the 18th, and then the 25th should be the same price level as the 22nd. Those lows around those price levels, and then you could also hold the long past that high there into the following month. It looks like, because there's a cash out opportunity at a key resistance there. As far as performance compared to Bitcoin, it seems like they have a very similar performance from the standpoint of the side-by-side comparison. If they don't, then SHIBcoin's going to underperform Bitcoin in comparison to Bitcoin. Let me see what the cards have to say. Yeah, that's affirmative. SHIBcoin underperforms Bitcoin in the month of January 2024. My friends, that's SHIBcoin for January 2024. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Blessings to all my angel investors. You guys know what to do. You know where to go. I'll see you guys on the next one.